Black lights and booze burn when I record for Watts. And every black like Troy Davis who never had a fair shot.
Welcome to Left to Black. I'm your host, Mark Anthony Neal. We are joined here today in the John Hope Franklin Center on Duke University's campus with Los Angeles-based hip-hop artist, Murs. How are you doing, man?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us today.
Honored to be here.
Murs is here at Duke as an artist in resident. He will be performing in a few nights with our own Patrick Douthit, Ninth Wonder. How's your visit to Duke been so far?
It's been amazing. It's been fun. Great.
And one of the things I want to start with you is just to talk about the longevity of your career. If you're watching television or watching some of these award shows, there's always some hot new rapper or hot new rap act that we're supposed to pay attention to, and then really, 3 or 4 years later, they're irrelevant. You're someone who's been able to sustain a career now for 20 years. Talk about what kind of work has gone into building the brand that's Murs.
Oh man, just a lot of work. Being active is key, and for me, to my detriment, sometimes it's weird to say, but humility. I still see what I do, like I said, for better or worse, as a public service. Yeah. So always trying to be in service to my community and think about what my fans want. And maybe not what's best for my career, the trajectory of my career, but sustaining a career, and and gratitude, like living at a point where I know I'm grateful enough to know that this isn't going to be given to me. I have to continue to work to garner the favor of my fans and new fans. You
have a very unique voice. I remember reading a quote where you were like, the easy part is to try to sound like somebody else. The more difficult thing is to have your own voice and be able to sustain it for a long period of time. There are folks who will say that perhaps you're too cerebral.
Oh, very.
Right, that your work is a little bit more thoughtful than most folks think of the genre. What does that mean for you to have a thoughtful presence, particularly for your audience?
I feel like I have a responsibility to go in depth and push boundaries and share new ideas. Not just a responsibility to my fans, but a responsibility to my predecessors. Mm. It was really revolutionary what NWA did. Yeah. It's not revolutionary to keep talking about the same thing. Yeah, it's negative, and I think people are focusing on the wrong thing. Like, yeah, right. It's negative and it's bad for the community. It's not helping us progress. But at the same time, it's just poor form to imitate those that came after you 20 years ago. They grew up on Parliament Funkadelic, right? And you could hear the influence in Dr. Dre, but he didn't stay there, wear a spacesuit and a diaper, right? He changed it up and made it his. Right. But you guys are still doing the same thing that NWA did, and it's not honoring them. Yeah, it's kind of stealing. And so I'm such a fan of Ice Cube, and people don't know when you listen to my music, you can't tell. They think I still never heard the Black Star album. I don't listen to a lot of the rap they think I listen to. I come from a very strict gangster rap background, but out of respect for them, that's not what I do. I felt that I was supposed to innovate and build on their legacy rather than ride their coattails. Yeah, that's great. You have a new album coming out, The Strange Journey of the Unimaginable. Yes. The first single is a song called Melancholy. Yes. When we think hip hop, we don't think melancholy. That's not one of the things that's not a word that comes to mind. It's also an album that you're dropping on your 40th birthday. Yes. Talk a little bit about that lead single, right? Wow. Melancholy, and some of the things that, are not easy to swallow, to digest for an audience, some of the themes that you're dealing with in the context of melancholy and stuff that's been happening with your life. Yeah, I was coming off of depression, divorce, being separated from my son for more time than I like to be, a new marriage, and then my son, after 40 weeks, was stillborn, so burying my newborn child. And a few months later, my label was saying, hey, let's get at it. Wow. They didn't force me, but they were like, if you want to take this, we feel like you have a lot to say right now. Right. And you already had this release date scheduled. If you feel like you can keep it, we'd love for you to keep it, and we'd support you, because we're expecting a new child that's due the exact same time as my other son was born. So I told them, like, I'm not promoting anything. I'm not, once she hits the do area, right, and 2 months after that, I'm not, so I won't be able to tour, and I know, so I want to support your product. They said, don't worry about it. Just, we feel like this is a good time for you to do a record. And so that's what came out. And even the producer was like, that's not what I had in mind. That beat's not melancholy. And we released it around the holidays, and it was a song about, you know, dealing with depression and dealing with hard times. And the label said, don't release it then. No one's listening, the blogs are dead. And I said, but there are people who need to hear that.
Yeah.
And
even especially in the holidays.
Yeah, and that's the so I said,
right.
this is what we're doing it for. We're not doing it for the sales. I've never done it for the sales.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people reached back out and said, thank you for that. I needed that this time. And this is a time where everybody's supposed to be up, and I'm not feeling as up. And thank you for being with me. I don't feel so alone. So that was perfect.
You know, if there was an alien that came from outer space and listened to, say, a 25-year period of hip hop music, watched a bunch of videos, I think anybody would look at, particularly some of the performances of Black masculinity, and would easily say there are some mental health care issues at play. Depression, suicidal thoughts, right? And not just the obvious songs that we know about.
Yeah.
Why do you think there hasn't been more artists willing to open up? I mean, because to some extent you even get this, you know, surprisingly, you know, as he's almost turning 50 in a Jay-Z in 444.
Yeah.
You know, why is it taking so long for so many artists, particularly Black male artists, to open up about that particular part of their lives in their music?
I think it's just, you know, for a lot of us, it's been about survival. And showing vulnerability is counterintuitive, it's counterproductive to if you're trying to survive. And even some of them now, I get a lot to get together with these conscious rappers, and I don't know how you feel or how the people at home feel, but they're still extremely homophobic, and it trips me out.
Right.
And then I look at them at the same time, and I'll tell some of my closer friends, because I've had people like that I've known for years, like square up with me and like draw down on me because I say, I was like, what you're saying, what you're doing is extremely homoerotic.
Right.
Like, my N-word's this, and me and my N-words, and F these B's, and me and my N-words, and I'm like, well, okay, well, you like women, but you don't like women, you only want to die for your N-words, and I'm like, so.
Right. And you only want women when you can be there and all your homies can get some at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's not homoerotic, but because I want to share my feelings, I'm soft, and I'm an F word, and I'm this, I'm like, y'all got it all wrong. Yeah. But I'm gonna let you have that because you gotta develop. And sometimes, you know, I was thankfully in a household where I was, not to say I was born like this, but I was able to take my stance earlier. And if it takes Jay-Z till he's, you know, but for me it was always baffling because I was like, okay, you grew up in New York City. You know, with all due respect, everybody has their journey, but you've been a millionaire in New York City for two decades, and you just now got around to Basquiat. Wow. Okay. Well, if that's the thing, you know, but you know, hey, like everybody gets there when they get there, and welcome to the party, bro. Like, and you know, and that's someone I love, and is in my top 5 rappers. I mean, it's hugely influential in my life. So I'm glad that they get there, and but if aliens came down, they would see what because that's why I'm treated like an alien, like, and even dealing with Pat, like when they first met me, they were kind of like, what's wrong with this kid, you know? So I'm a little too far gone, and I'm very grateful that Jay-Z's coming around, because him coming around has opened the eyes of so many more people than I ever could have.
You know, you just mentioned having to deal with the death, the stillbirth of a newborn. One of the other stories that folks know about you that's particularly important is that you were an adoptive parent in an earlier marriage. Talk about adoption, and you know, it's personal for me because I adopted 2 daughters.
Oh wow!
Right, so I'm
amazing.
So the opportunity, I think I've never actually been on set here talking to someone who actually also, at least another Black male, who also was an adoptee in terms of a father. But talk about that process for you, and then also the challenge of what it means to adopt a newborn. You know, whose life you can help shape. But also, you know, adopting from foster care with an older child creates a whole different kind of challenge and context. Yeah,
it's been really challenging and really amazing. The baby was, my ex-wife and I set him out to adopt a teenager, and we got put into this database. And I had just done the final adventure with Ninth. I come home about 3 or 4 months later. I'm on the couch and I get a call. And it said, this baby's born, you have 48 hours to get to North Carolina to pick this baby up. Do you still want it? I said, what? And
I know that experience.
And if you don't come pick him up, he's going to foster care. The mother picked you out specifically, saw your pictures 2 months ago.
Wow.
Someone from the office forgot to call you, but now it's D-Day.
D-Day. Right.
And you know, at that point in my marriage, our marriage counselor had said, the last thing you guys need right now is a kid. But we looked at each other like, this is God working, or this is life working. We got to take it in all respect to my ex-wife in that point, you know, because there's not a lot of people. Well, and thankful for hip hop, because it was, you know, $35,000 out of nowhere that had to be ready to. And thank God for Pat and you know, Ninth Wonder and my North Carolina family, because they helped us out with some hotels, because we had to stay here 3 weeks with a newborn in a hotel. But luckily I have family in North Carolina, so you know, it was everything worked out, and he's been such a blessing, and he's 5 now, and you know, it was unfortunate that we, you know, his mother and I split, but I still, you know, my new wife and I go down for a week every month to Arizona, and just kind of try to fit into his routine. When I leave here, I go there for the weekend. Whenever I can, I'm there. And until we're expecting a new one hopefully, but we'll still go down once a month and spend a week with him in his routine. I used to just bring him up with me for a month and give him to his mom for a month, but now he has to get ready for school. And then we had also adopted a teenager 6 months after that one, because we were already in the process of getting this teenager, and that didn't work out so well. I don't like to fault him, and you know, as he's an adult now, I don't want to speak out of turn for him, but I'm sure we didn't do things right, and he didn't do things right, and but he was set in his ways. It was definite, and it was definitely something my elders told me, don't do it. But as I began to speak at high schools and see, you know, my fame and money starting out, how can I help? And I was like, I'm already putting out a positive message, but the black people who need to hear my message aren't interested in hearing me, because I'm too cerebral and I'm too weird. So how can I impact? I can actually go out and just bring a black kid into my home, or multiple black children. Because the point, you know, was stop. Then I've been to Ethiopia, and instead of just sending money, we went out there and went to the village, found kids, met their parents. This is the child I'm helping go to school. We write, you know, twice a year. We send school supplies and pay the tuition for 3 different kids, my ex-wife and I, and seen 2 of them going to college, and the 3rd one's coming along. And you know, so they're like doing more things and I started working with Habitat for Humanity, doing things that are more hands-on, that you can really focus on trying to change one life instead of, because I've been shooting my message out at that point for 10, 15 years, and okay, y'all don't want to hear it like that. I can take the money because my fan base is largely white and Latino, and I can take the money from that community and put it back into our community, but not just, oh, here's some money for the Boys and Girls Club, because kids want to see you, they want to touch you. And when I go to Crenshaw High, that's what the teacher would say. It was like, it's not so much that they know you shout them out, but the fact that you came, and you know, there's a couple kids that I still mentor. They're like consistency matters. I was like, I can't be consistent at this high school because I tour too much, but I'm able to afford a lifestyle where my wife doesn't have to work, and when I'm home, I can be completely focused on my kids because my work is outside. And so let's adopt some kids. And she led the charge on that, and like, you know, she's my ex-wife, but you know, all respect due to her on that front, was really. She was the spearhead of that movement. And I'm still grateful for it, even though it didn't work out with the teenager. I still think somewhere down the line it's going to be different, because he was in the Alabama foster care system, where it was just our foster care system in this country is.
No, that's a whole nother question. You know, the damage that's done to the children even before they get to a point of foster care. And how they're treated within foster care, and then, you know, with very little support after. You know, when they age out of foster care, you know, it's great to hear a story like yours, because one, we don't see enough of them, whether we're talking about rap artists or just black men in general. So it's an important story. You're watching Left of Black. I'm your host, Mark Anthony Neal. We're here in the John Hope Franklin Center with Los Angeles-based hip hop artist Murs. Talking about his career, his music, your collaborations. You know, there's the one you did a few years ago with Terrace Martin, and of course, you've done 6 collaborations with Ninth Wonder. Talk about how that relationship began, and these projects took off.
Ninth Wonder was I have no idea. I'm very amusical for a black person, like very little rhythm, not into music, not into the beat. Very cerebral, lyric. So my best friend told me, Speed came out, he's like, you gotta work with Ninth Wonder. I never even heard the song. I was like, all right, you say it. Yeah. You know producers.
Right.
So I went out and I was like, anybody got Ninth Wonder beats? How can I get Ninth Wonder beats? My label at the time didn't think it was important enough to reach out to him.
Okay.
And so by happenstance, I was at a show and a guy I know named Ian Davis that knew Ninth said, hey man, I got some Ninth Wonder beats I want to play you. I said, what? Let's go to the van right now. We went to the van, I turned it on, started playing beats. I don't believe I let him in the car with me. He stood outside of the car. Then I rolled down the window, I said, ID, call him right now. I want to do a whole EP with him.
Wow.
And he called Knife, and Knife said, I'm sure Knife hadn't heard my, I don't know what he was like, okay. He's just ready to work like me.
Right.
And so he said, okay, and he started sending me beats. And I wrote to a beat, I went and recorded it. So and this is back when you had to tape it. I had to send him a tape because there was no email. So I said,
no drop boxes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna send you I send you this tape of the song, I'll play it over the phone, you wanna hear it? He's like, oh, what beat? Yeah, I think it was Put Something Down on it or something. And he was like, I gave that to Master Ace. I lost it. I lost it. I said, bro, I'm coming to North Carolina. You don't know me, but this won't happen again. And he said, okay, you want to come? I said, yeah, I'm coming, man. And in between, with the time we agreed to that I would go there, I was still on tour. At that point, I was doing maybe 200 shows a year.
Wow. I
said, I'll be there right before Thanksgiving. I got a call. I feel like it was in my hotel room, but I might have been my cell at the time. I didn't know the number, I picked it up. He said, it's Ninth. I said, what's up, man? He said, before you hear anything, I want you to know that I was in a session with Jay-Z and Beyonce last night, and I played them some beats, but I didn't play them any of your beats. I said, fool, if you don't play Jay-Z all of my beats. He's like, nah, I just kept them for you, bro. And I was like, this is a good dude. This is a solid man. I was like, wow.
Right.
He not only called me before it broke, before the blogs ran with it.
Right.
Like, I'm sure he called his wife. I was like, unlist the people to call the morning after you spend the night with Jay-Z. You made sure I was on that list.
Yeah.
And I flew here and I landed. He played me Threat. Funny thing is now it's really funny because he explained to me how a lot of people we had in common used to hate on him because he made his beats on a computer, and that was so taboo.
Right.
He wasn't allowed to do this, and he wasn't gonna be this, and he was.
Right.
I said, I don't care about none of that, man. And in 5 days, we made our first record, and I hated it. And I didn't really. I liked him, but I landed. I was wearing some pajama pants with Twinkies all over them, extra medium Carmelo Anthony rookie jersey from the Denver Nuggets, and some Nike Dunks limited edition something. They looked at me like I was an alien. They took me to a house party, and I was like, all right, well, and they got to know me really quick, and that clash created great music. And so then I started coming back every Thanksgiving and spending with his family, his pops, Mo, his mom, Pat, and the kids and the family, and just holding his kids. And he let me sleep in the house with his kids. Yeah. And I never took that for granted. So we've always been friends. And through the little brother breakup, through everything we've both been through in our lives, we stay cool. And that's, we don't have a lot in common. Yeah. We're not into the same things. There's hip hop, Star Wars, and there's a whole lot in between that we don't really groove on. And family, you know? Right. And he's been real solid. And Terrace Martin was somebody that I think that we had in common. Yeah, me and Terrace, I know both of them, they didn't know each other, then they met each other and it became.
Then that's a whole.
But me and Terrace are like.
Right, yeah.
We're on to, when I was doing the underground freestyle fellowship, the Far Side, the alternative black scene, I think the most famous person to come out of our scene is Ava DuVernay.
And folks forget when they think about the LA scene, they always think about like NWA and Snoop and all those folks, but you are talking about people like Freestyle Fellowship and the Far Side. Yeah. I mean, it's a rich. And not even just hip hop. I mean, you take that back 50 years and start talking about jazz and R&B. I mean, there's a whole LA scene that folks really have only gotten a slice of, you know, because of the popularity of Dre and Snoop and Ice Cube and cats like that.
But JMD and like some jazz musicians are a direct feed into Michael Nine and my lineage of the people I come from. Right. And Terrace was on the other side, but I can't play. Terrace can play, but he was kind of in the world stage in that scene, but he was definitely like, DJ Quick was snatching him up, like, come play on this. Snoop was like, direct my music, you know? So we both were like this, so when we finally met, we're like, between the two of us, we know everybody and everything in LA. And then he met Knife and they went off on their own. I still don't know. They don't give me enough credit for marrying them. No, but those are two of my brothers that we connect, you know, like I know Terrace's mother and Nice mother, and I like those are the connections. Like whatever happens in the business, doesn't matter. Whatever happens creative. But that's my favorite album I ever done was with Terrace. And my fans hate it. They hate it. It's my least smallest selling album. They hate it. But it was the freest I think maybe he's ever been and I've ever been, because we didn't care. It was just because. Me going to his house and hanging out with him and his million pit bulls and problems, sleeping on the couch, bad luck, doing this, whoever coming at his house, and it was a crazy time for him and me, and we just had a lot of fun.
Whose idea was it to cover Common? I used to love her.
It was mine, man. That song always rubbed me the wrong way for a couple reasons. I used to play it, and the gangbangers in my neighborhood that were savvy enough, or street guys, because some of them weren't gangbangers, but definitely street guys. Because I would play music in my neighborhood, but from my window you could hear it. And you can't play that SHIT, blah, 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 blah. You know he dissed the West Coast. And I was like, that's not what he's saying. That's not what he's saying. I was trying to tell him, and then West Side Connection came back with Dissing Common, and I was like,
Slaughterhouse.
Oh, and then I had to take sides. Then as it grew, and then when Common dissed Ice Cube, that rubbed me the wrong way. But you know, and I always felt some way, and I was like, I always want to redo this song. And and it was really funny to me because the same things Common dissed Ice Cube for, he ended up doing. And I was like, life has a way of working itself out, don't it? And
it's funny because there are a lot of young kids, you know, who are hip hop fans who know who Cube and Common, but they have no knowledge of that history. It's like ancient history to them that Common and Ice Cube.
And both of them are kind of like, Common's done a great job of keeping his persona as a rapper there a little bit. But to most kids, Ice Cube is, are we
it's
there
an actor,
yet?
He's not.
And Common's going to be that way pretty soon too. Like he's going to be a successful producer,
like
director.
Latifah,
And no one's going to know that he. And the whole thing with Common and Cube is they're ill. And what tore me up is if anyone says I sound like anyone, it's going to be either Common or Cube. So when they started beefing, I was like, this is making my head explode. So by making that cover was something I want to do, and Knife is one of the few producers that was like, yeah, you should do it. I've been trying with other producers, nah, not over my beat. We want to do something new and original. But when I perform it now, I always say, shout out to the Honorable Common Sense. Because there are kids who actually thought it was my song.
I had that experience in class, playing it one day in class. They're like, there's another version of it? It's
and that's what I didn't want to happen. So but I feel like that's what I thought Snoop did really well with Lottie Dottie. Because we have to keep these songs alive.
It was homage, it was pure homage to Slick Rick,
like we gotta, because we're an oral culture. Like we're not this. That's a European thing. Like we're more of a, here, and the drum and everything, that's how we keep our...
R&B and jazz artists always pay tribute by covering other people's songs, and hip-hop is not as invested in that.
We're so ego and so... You know, I think, it's too much ego. I'm always down. I want to do more covers. And when I did the Guinness World Record, that's why I did so many covers. Like, I want to do old dirty songs. I want to, certain Wu-Tang songs need to be alive forever.
I hear you.
But especially the songs with the message. Like, I Used to Love Her is such an impactful thing that it needed to be done. It had to be done.
I was checking your Twitter feed. What'd you think about that Martin Luther King Dodge Ram?
I almost responded. It brought me to tears. Not like I thought it got me in a good way, and then people started getting upset about it. And then I said, I should be upset. Then I thought, I was like, what upset me most about football on Sundays is when I'd be sitting there as a married man and have to watch half-naked women. I was like, here I am. I'm trying to. This is my escape. And there's so much temptation in the world. I And I'm a vegan, so I definitely don't want your hamburger.
Right.
And I definitely don't want your half-naked woman. I'm content.
Right.
But this is like noise.
Yeah.
And so I was like, before I get out there and be like, they shouldn't use, I was like, I'd rather you use peace
Right.
than sex to sell something.
Right.
And I'm hoping that his family got some money because they still need to make a living.
Right.
But if you're gonna use this to sell a car, great, because it's better than the country music I would have had to hear, or a topless cowgirl doing God knows what. Because a kid is not gonna see that it's a truck commercial.
Right.
They're gonna hear Dr. King's words. And we gotta start
Right.
taking our victories
Right.
where we
get
can.
'em.
Because there was a lot of BS that my son was exposed to during that 3 hours.
Right.
But he heard he don't know they're selling a car.
Right.
And I'm not buying him a Dodge because of that.
Right.
So
But he knows that voice, right?
he knows, and
those
and what the
powerful
message
words.
was so powerful. And like I said before,
Powerful
that's been my whole mission. Mission is
Yeah.
what keeps my career going is that I'm a public servant. I'm here because you guys allow me to be here, and you allow me to be here because I am of service to you.
Yeah.
So for that message to come out, whether it has to be on a Dodge commercial or not, hey, it was better than another. You know, especially where we are now with men and women in this world. Like, go ahead, use Dr. King a couple more times if we can put a couple more topless cowgirls off the screen.
We've enjoyed this afternoon by Murs, Los Angeles-based hip-hop artist here on Left of Black. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
coming through. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Black lights and booze burn when I record for Watts. And every black like Troy Davis who never had a fair shot. All black everything, everything black. Culture over everything, y'all. We taking it back.